The 4,000 luxury cars that were stuck on a burning ship in the middle of the Atlantic have stopped burning. They are now on the bottom of the ocean, with the ship, which has also stopped burning. Here are the details. The Washington Post reports that the vehicle carrier ship that had been burning in the middle of the Atlantic has sunk, taking with it nearly 4,000 luxury cars, including 1,100 Porsche vehicles. The Felicity Ace started burning on February 16th when it was roughly halfway through its transatlantic journey from Germany to Rhode Island in the U.S. The ship's 22-person crew were unable to stop the fire and had to be rescued by an oil tanker. It is still unclear how the fire started, but it is assumed that the large batteries of the electric vehicles on board would have made firefighting more difficult. The vehicle cargo consisted of around 1,100 Porsches and around 200 Bentleys. Also on board were a number of Lamborghini Urus, Aventador and Huracan vehicles, and these were the last Aventadors to be produced. Add to that thousands of high-end Volkswagen cars for a total value of $400 million. The ship was being towed when it sank on Tuesday, March 1st, 250 miles from the Azores Islands. The ship was carrying about 2,200 tons of fuel and 2,200 tons of oil when it went down, sparking concerns that the nearby Azores archipelago could be polluted. The pristine group of islands are home to many marine species and a key feeding ground for blue whales and humpback whales. Sri Lanka's beautiful beaches are being swamped by billions of plastic pellets and toxins as the country deals with a massive and growing environmental disaster. The disaster started when a fire erupted on a container ship after it anchored near the port of Colombo. The ship's owners have been aware of an acid leak on the ship for weeks, but say they could not fix the problem because Qatar and India would not allow the ship to dock there. Here are the details. The BBC reports that Sri Lanka is dealing with a growing environmental disaster as billions of plastic pellets, oil, and dangerous chemicals from a sinking ship smother its coastline. The container ship Express Pearl left the Indian port of Hazira on May 15th, heading for Colombo. The ship had earlier sprung a leak of highly corrosive nitric acid, but its owners claimed they had been denied permission by both Qatar and India to dock the ship. While it was anchored off Sri Lanka's Colombo harbor, a fire broke out on May 20th. Sri Lankan officials believe the fire was caused by the leaking acid. The ship then burned out of control for 2 weeks before settling in the shallow waters of the harbor. In that time, hundreds of shipping containers fell into the sea, releasing toxins and billions of plastic pellets into the ocean. The plastic pellets have already covered miles of Sri Lanka's famously beautiful beaches. Experts say the pellets still in the sea could travel as far as India, Indonesia, and Somalia. Local fishermen were told to stay out of the ocean, but the fishermen say they need to fish to survive and will need to be compensated by the government. Sri Lanka has launched a criminal investigation into the disaster and says it will seek compensation. Last month's oil spill in Mauritius could end up ruining one of the last great hotspots of marine biodiversity left on Earth. Now, an investigation suggests it happened because someone on the ship wanted to get within cell phone range of the island for a birthday celebration, among other damning details. Here's what we know so far. The Panama Maritime Authority has officially joined the investigation of the final voyage of the MV Wakashio. The Wakashio ran aground on a coral reef in July and broke apart in mid-August, spilling 1,000 tons of oil. It was the worst environmental disaster in the history of Mauritius. Mauritius is a small and poor island state in the Indian Ocean. It depends on fish, corals, and marine wildlife for food and tourism for its economy. The accident happened at Point Desny, a coral reef that lies near a marine park and is listed under the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands of International Importance. The Wakashio entered the Indian Ocean on July 16th. The Panamanian-flagged, Japanese-owned bulk carrier adjusted course on July 21st. The ship then entered Mauritius's exclusive economic zone on July 23rd. On July 25th, it changed course again and collided with the reef off the coast of Mauritius at 7:15 p.m. The Panama Maritime Authority confirmed revelations first reported by local newspaper L'Express. The Wakashio made a course change to get within 5 miles of Mauritius to pick up a cell phone signal for a crew member's birthday celebration. The investigation also found that the chart displayed on the Wakashio's electronic chart display and information system was the wrong chart and the wrong scale. This made it impossible to properly verify the approach of the coast and shallower waters. Mauritian waters are home to 1,700 species according to the UN Convention on Biological Diversity. Speaking to the BBC, Karina Chokan, a senior lecturer in marine biology at the University of Brighton, said there are very few such marine areas with such rich biodiversity left on the planet. An oil spill like this will impact almost everything there. Sunil Kumar Nandeshwar, the captain of the Japanese ship, was arrested last month and charged with unlawful interference with the operation of a property of a ship that resulted in unsafe navigation. The 58-year-old Indian national faces 60 years in jail if found guilty. The ocean around the South Atlantic island of Tristan da Cunha is said to become a fishing war zone, as it has been declared a marine wildlife sanctuary by the island's government. The move is designed to protect the area's wildlife and fish populations, which means it would be one of the last parts of the world's oceans that would contain large fish stocks. This would make it an irresistible target for the world's long-range fishing boats, which have overfished most of the world's oceans, leading to diminished fish populations globally. China's large fleet of long-range fishing boats are particularly infamous for their long history of poaching fish from nations as far away from China as South Africa and Argentina. According to The Guardian, the protected area is huge, 3 times the size of the UK, and the UK government would be responsible for enforcing the new no fishing law. In a statement, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson called on other nations to join Britain in its ambition to protect 30% of the world's oceans. He said, "We are in danger of killing our seas. We are warming them up, making them more acidic, and every day we fill them with turtle-choking, dolphin-poisoning plastic that is turning our ocean into a vast floating rubbish dump." An oil spill in the seas near Mauritius is so large that it can be seen from space. Here is what we know so far. Reuters reports Mauritius has declared a state of emergency after a stricken tanker began spilling tons of fuel, causing an ecological disaster among the reefs to the southeast of the island nation. The Panamanian-flagged bulk carrier Wakashio is owned by Japan-based Okio Marine, an affiliate of Nagashiki Shipping. According to the Washington Post, the ship struck the reefs on July 25th and has leaked more than 1,000 tons of oil. India-based news site The Saddle reports that the 300-meter-long Wakashio carried 3,800 tons of bunker fuel, 200 tons of diesel, and 90 tons of lubricants. According to Al Jazeera, Mauritius fears the ship could break up completely and release all its cargo. Al Jazeera reports oil sludge could be seen seeping into the ocean and white sand beaches, which threatens the fish, coral, and marine wildlife that Mauritius depends on for its economy. Once again, 2020 hits the ball right out of the park. Perhaps now is a good time to brush up these woodsy skills you have always fantasized about, supposing, of course, that there will be a wilderness for us to run to at the end of all this. Shocking images show a massive Venezuelan oil tanker tilting dangerously near the island of Trinidad in the West Indies. According to CBS News, the giant ship is carrying more than 300 million liters of oil and is anchored in the Gulf of Paria, a gulf only around 100 kilometers across between Venezuela and the country of Trinidad and Tobago. The Venezuelan tanker has been parked in the Gulf for nearly 2 years, carrying around 1.3 million barrels of oil. That's about 5 times the amount of oil that the Exxon Valdez famously spilled in 1989. Environmentalists and scientists are extremely concerned that a storm at sea could cause the oil in the unstable ship to slosh around. Such a situation could cause the ship to flip over, which would lead to an oil spill much bigger than the disastrous Exxon Valdez oil spill. If this happens, the entire region will be covered in sticky oil for decades, causing a massive ecological disaster and destroying the unique beauty of the area. Plastic pollution is a global problem that is causing an environmental disaster in the world's oceans, and scientists have now found that the Mediterranean Sea is also filling up with plastic at a very high rate. Scientists have previously documented how the Pacific and other oceans are filling up with plastic trash that cover the sea floor or drift on the surface to form floating trash dumps the size of countries. One of these floating trash dumps is called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and it's 3 times the size of France. According to Reuters, scientists are now studying where all this ocean-destroying trash comes from, and have found that most of it comes from rivers in Indonesia, China, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Thailand. A recent study published by the International Union for Conservation of Nature has now also raised the alarm in the Mediterranean Sea. The study found that around 230,000 tons of plastic trash is dumped in the sea per year, and this number is expected to double by 2040 if ambitious steps are not taken soon. The study found that the nations most guilty of dumping plastic in the Mediterranean are Italy, Turkey, and Egypt. However, on a per capita basis, it is the individuals of Montenegro, Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and North Macedonia who throw the most trash in nature. The solution for this problem is a very elusive goal, and different people have different ideas of how to solve this problem. In the end, it seems obvious that nations and individuals need to educate themselves to the point where they can understand how important it is to recycle plastic and not to simply dump it in nature.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.